But I remember the first memory of me with my dad was my dad sitting down in a chair with his hands up and me punching, grabbing my fist and twisting it, doing all these things, these techniques. Well, I could go to the gym and I could hit the bag for 2 hours straight without breathing. Without breaking down. I have the ability to do that because I lose in the focus. And it's because I've learned to become efficient. And I do this on purpose because it is an expansion for me. It's a meditation for me to do it. I'm not trying to get into a fight with anyone. I don't even think that way. Actually, that exhausts me. Like, I remember, I was young, I'm like, okay, I'm going to pitch myself fighting somebody and get in a fight when I'm looking at the bag, and I get tired right away. But when I look at the bag as a skillful or just a prop, and I'm like, okay, I'm just punching. I'm not saying, like, let's see how long I can go. But an hour and a half will go by, and I just kept punching the bag. No soreness, no heavy breath. I'm just moving. And it's like a dance. Anyone that's ever been out dancing just loses themselves in that point. It's effortless. It's completely effortless. And this is the expansion we're talking about. Then the enjoyment comes. But once there's effort in it, I don't want to do it. And where does the effort come from? It comes from the mind. It comes from holding on to. So when I let go and slip into the void, slip into the silence, slip into the gaps in between the words or the silence in between the note, that's where I want to be. And then watch the birth of the sound, watch the birth of the word, watch the birth of the object. You come in and out of that wave. It's kind of like the peak and the trough of a wave. Boom, it disappears, boom, disappears, boom. That's where you experience life and the birth at the same time. So I just don't want to. I don't want to be in the void. I want to come from the void into the sound, back into the silence, into the sound, with a set of timing, with this perfect rhythm of timing, and that's what it is. We get greater and greater at it. There is no perfection in timing, but there's an expansion within the field of it, and you could keep getting better or greater and greater at it. Because we don't want to use the word better because it indicates that it was worse.
Yeah. No such thing as the better or the worse. That's the relative. That's what Frank and I are talking about when we say relative. Anything can be looked at this way or that way. So when you see that with your emotion and with your experience, you no longer take it, I don't want to say for real. You take it in stride because you understand, this is simply my perception onto this. Yeah. And you naturally allow yourself to be comfortable in any given situation. And even in uncomfortable situations. And what is the perception? The perception is the field in which we experience. Because if we didn't have any perception onto it, there really wouldn't be a story or an experience. So we actually give it, because that's what we came here. We came here to experience this energy flow in the path of least resistance relative to where I am, not anywhere else. So once I start comparing the relevance to me doing anything to somebody else, this is where I start to break down the field of energy, and it becomes relentless because I'm holding on to something. I'm only doing things in relative to where I am, and as I move, and I completely understand my level. Anyone that has done anything. Like, I remember one time somebody wanted to learn a couple of chords on the guitar, and I was teaching them. And the first hour, they couldn't even hold a guitar, right? And the next thing you know, have them playing the E chord and show them how to strum. I'm like, just do different rhythm strums on the E chord. And like, wow, I'm like, good. And then I went to show them something like, oh my God, I want to be like you. I'm like, well, slow down there, Charlie. I've been doing this since I was 11, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. I just, if Eddie Van Halen was sitting here, I'd be like, oh shit, But it's relative to where you were before you walked in here. You didn't even know how to hold a guitar. Mm-hmm. Now you're strumming and you're playing music. I'm like, that's what you hold on to and then let go of. But if you're holding on to trying to play like me as I'm showing you, you're not going to want to pick up the guitar again. It's too much. It's too strenuous. Just pick up what you can do and then let go. And why do we let go? Because the next thing we pick up is stronger. It's more expanded, I should say. When people exercise, they lift weights. They lift it and drop it. The greatest thing about lifting weights is putting it down. I like that.
It's like, shit.
My favorite part.
Then you got to pick it up again so you can put it down. So we lift something to let go of it. And in in the field of lifting and letting go, we see expansion. So it's not about not grabbing onto something else, but it's about the field of letting go and doing it. But imagine you grab something and said you can never let go. You would panic and freak out and drop dead in a moment. Mm-hmm. But there's something in us that lets go. Like unless you wrap a bag around your head and tie it and just lock your hands up, you can't hold your breath. There's something in us that's you might pass out. People have done that, but when you pass out, all of a sudden your body starts to innately start to oxygenate itself.
So we take credit for our body doing a lot of things.
Yeah,
our body knows what to do.
No, we know how to direct it. We know how to, and what we do. There is a correlation with letting go and being at ease to the frequency output, or what we call dis-ease, which means
absolutely
you're outside. There's a lot of there's no lack of ease.
If you don't manage and regulate your body will force you to through disease.
And through the forces
you to stop.
Yeah. So it utilizes more energy, so therefore you're out of the sequence of what we call path of least resistance. So there seems to be a correlation, but we still don't know, because I know a lot of people that stress out and they take the long way, everything based on, and again, I'm sitting here observing them, so it's not even a fair assessment for me to observe someone, because it's not relative to where I'm. That might be their path of least resistance.
I feel bad.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit. Like, but it might be based on their journey. So it's not even a fair assessment for me to actually, impress that onto some. And that's kind of what me and Mike trying to impress all the time. Take everything relevant to you and leave everyone out of it. Part of what's going on, you see in the world today, everyone's looking over the shoulder to see what else everyone's doing, and they're asking, "Did you do this? Did you get the shot? Did you get this?" I'm like, if I got the shot or didn't get the shot, how is that relevant to you? Or you can kill me if you didn't. And again, if you believe that, you're going to end up dying. But when you're dead, like, you can't blame me because you'll be gone. So I won't have to worry about you blaming me, but somebody else might. But nonetheless, that shouldn't be relative to that term. But if you make it relative, all of a sudden everyone's up in arms because everyone isn't doing the right thing. And everyone's like, well, what is the right thing?
Well,
what
we
is
don't know.
The right thing? Well, empirically, everything is right or everything is true. But when I try to say my way is the most relevant to everyone out there, this is where I actually stop putting them dams up in the water. And the problem with a dam is if you had a river flowing, the water becomes purified naturally. I can drink from it, and it's constant. But once I put a dam up, one side of the dam goes drought. The other side of the dam becomes stagnation and lava gets in. So now I have a drought on one side and I have lavaed water, which I can't drink from. It's contaminated. So now all of a sudden I'm trying to secure myself of water, which I can't do anything with anymore. Get rid of the dam, allow the water to flow, and whenever you're thirsty, you grab into the river. That will always be there. Don't try to control it.
So I think a lot, at least for me, a lot of what I got caught up in the beginning was I thought my thoughts were me. What I mean by that is I thought what I was thinking, and it was very specific to only me and my experience. When in fact, thoughts are much more of a network. That is, this is like, you can also see this in like collective consciousness with things such as marijuana becoming legal, seeing it spread recreationally more and more as people are getting older, or younger or growing up, etc. We start to see, okay, this is quite ridiculous that our country had this war on drugs. We're starting to see these concepts become more and more okay in society. Gay marriage, there you go. That's something that became more and more okay. It's in media. It's in this. That's a collective consciousness, and it's an awareness that we all share, and certain things get more and more acceptable and all that. That's what I mean when I say collective consciousness. So our thoughts, guys, they're not our own.
Yeah.
And we think very deeply, or we're very conditioned in the sense that we think, oh my gosh, that thought is me, and I can't believe I thought that. No.
Well, in order
your
to...
thoughts aren't you. the thoughts need to pass by.
And how do you let a thought pass by?
You recognize it for what it is.
Well, you let go of it.
Well,
so when you become familiar with letting go, so part of my meditation, part of everything I do in life is the act of letting go. But then I have to grab onto something else in order to let go. So it's just continuous. It's almost like a void or silence in order to produce sound, silence in order to produce sound, and there's a different output or different rhythmic aspect how it happens. This is exactly how all life is lived. So in order to let go of something, I must be grabbing onto something else. The reason these concepts are coming out, such as it's okay to smoke marijuana now, is because in the past it wasn't. And then, but for those who have no want to smoke marijuana, why even get involved in the conversation anyway? You're not being forced to. So
I mean the locking up. I just mean these different collective ideas spring up, but and you see them take foot.
But what happened is how society got here is they had to let go of an idea that was no longer working because they held on to it too long. Now, again, like I used this analogy before, but like when I was like, anywhere from age of like 2 to 3 years old, I was on a tricycle. But once I started getting a little bit older, I had to let go of the tricycle and move to the bicycle. But I don't condemn the tricycle. So I don't even want to go back and think I know enough to go back in history and condemn any time. So even what we call, like there are actually aspects of people's behaviors working against the principles that we find are disruptive. So let's take a figure like Hitler. What he was trying to do is, he was trying to find peace. But the way he was trying to find peace, if he can actually convince everyone to think like he did and be the certain way, then he can finally sit, relax, and drink whatever he's going to drink and relax. So he tried to go the long way about it by trying to force everyone into a way of thinking he does.
Yeah, his idea of how it should be.
Yeah. But the problem there is you have to get everyone on the planet to agree with you, and he could barely get half of his countrymen to do it. A lot of them were motivated out of fear, not actually because they really wanted to do it. And over time, he gathered this fear up because it crept in. But we know it didn't work. So history shows us it didn't work. So someone that down the road is like, I think I could do it, but I found out where Hitler went wrong. I'm like,
oh, God.
I'm like, where he went wrong was he had the ability to have his own peace by leaving everyone else alone. And even then, how was his demise? He put a gun to his head. So when anyone puts a gun to the head, it's actually a metaphoric for actually blowing out your thoughts, and because the mind in which you are isn't working. Mm-hmm. He didn't shoot himself in the heart; he shot himself in the head.
And Frank and I always talk about too these total natural laws.
Yeah,
something like Hitler, what he was about, he goes against all natural law.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not here to tell you like. That go about. Everyone knows when
there's just certain principles. Like if something can survive or grow or function. Hate cannot.
No, it can't.
It can't.
And control can't.
It cannot. Fear, hate, all of these things. Yes, they can dampen. They can be present. They are present in a
for
society.
short periods of time.
Correct, and that's the thing.
There hasn't been a society that ever controlled humans where they survived.
What's that? The dark room and just that little bit of light and how much it fills the room. You know what I'm talking about?
See, it's more like darkness is actually not even an entity. It's a concept. Light is an entity. So the analogy I use: if you go into a completely dark room and you have a box with a lid on it, and under that lid is a lamp. And the second I take the lid off, it illuminates the room in which I'm in.
That's right? Love.
Yeah. Now, say I go into a perfectly lit room, and I have a box with a lid on it. Now, there is no illumination. There's no light in there. We know it's dark. But the second I open that lid, the room doesn't dim, does it? So there is no entity such as dark. Now, what we consider as dark as human beings is a certain frequency we stay within and seeing. Like I can't read a book if I turn all the lights out, but there's still light wherever I am. They call this dark matter, and they call it dark matter because they're in the dark about this matter. And matter can only come from light. So information, another word for information is light. There's life going on, and that is light.
Let there be light.
Yes. Let there be light.
Truly.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
But so these concepts of like evil,
let there be light, let there be love,
evil, darkness, they're concepts. And they're concepts to keep us on the straight and narrow, to understand the principles that govern the physical world in which we're in, and also throughout the universe. There are principles that, like the understanding of gravity. Knowing how gravity works is why I don't jump off the 10-story building. I take the stairs or the elevator. If I jumped off the building, the 10-story building, it's going to be the end of my day, or it's going to really ruin my day, depending how strong my legs are. I'm going to hit, I don't know about 10 stories. That's a pretty far fall. So let's just say it's going to end the experience in which I'm trying to continue.
These concepts, these total natural laws that Frank and I are referring to, when they are a knowing, when they are that absolute, you navigate life very differently. Life works itself out every time. Yeah. Guaranteed, don't even need to think about it. And so what you're really struggling with on a daily basis is you're saying, I really want this to work out this way.
Yeah.
That's what you're struggling with, guys. You're saying, I want it to happen like this. It needs to happen like this in order for me to enjoy it. That's what you're struggling with, because it's going to work its way out just fine. And you can
let go of that idea of how it's just turned out.
If you can zone in on that and realize, holy crap, I've just been wanting it to happen like this and thinking that it had to happen this way because we've seen it like that in TV shows and in movies and stories and projections.
But think about that. Do you really want it to work out the way you think it should have worked out?
No, that's a conditioning.
But think about this. If it did, that's not a new experience.
It would be quite boring.
It would, because you've already been there. So how do you know what you want your future to be?
We think we do, but we don't.
You don't. But if you actually did, you were just replicating your past into your future. And the problem there is you're trying to feel like you're 18 as you're 54, and that actually you no longer can play that part. So you're trying to replicate that. And I'm like, that's already been played. It's done. It's gone. Let go of it. Move on. Hold on to the feeling of the excitement that moves you into the unknown, and that will drift you and move you into that field. But let go of the concept and everything of how, because we never knew how. No one knows.